and welcome along to Off the Court, your regular look at all things Netball Super League here on the Vitality Netball Super League YouTube channel. I'm Caroline Barker, and alongside me, Serena Guthrie, to my Bob, Tamsin Greenway. Hold that thought, because later in the show, we do have an England past and potentially England future coming on as we ask, are England about to be spoilt for choice at wing attack? Yeah. Well, that's quite a long question, which will need an even longer one when it comes to what next for centre, because we have to start with the news that the player Norma Plummer, coaching legend, called by far the best England rose, Serena Guthrie, is hanging up her netball dress for a baby's bib and retiring from the game. She's dripping in Super League titles, Tamsin, a Commonwealth gold. We are recording this after we've done the main body of the show, because it's kind of shocked everyone, hasn't it?
I mean, I couldn't quite believe it when I heard the news this morning. I knew it was going to get announced. And look, we've all been wondering what's been going on. We've been concerned, we've wanted to see Serena Guthrie on the court. She hasn't been starting for Bath. It was mentioned about fatigue. And of course, there's always the little rumblings, aren't there? But huge news. And not just because she's pregnant, which is absolutely incredible. And I'm so thrilled for her. But also the retirement, stepping away. I think that was the big shocker for everyone, because it was just so final. And, some of the news on Twitter today, I was reading, it's like, can you believe we've seen Serena Guthrie play our last game? And honestly, when you start thinking about it like that, it's huge news.
Don't think about it like that. Good job. You've got Casey Jacks with you to distract you. And I think actually he's a potential centre for the future, the way I've seen him lob some of his toys about. She had planned to retire after the Commonwealth Games, but this has come, or at least she was going to think about it, but this has come early. We'll leave the what next for England chat until next week. This is about those celebrating Serena, and hopefully we'll do that next week too. Have you got a corker of a Serena story that you can let loose?
Well, it's so funny, actually, because she messaged me earlier and went, thanks for keeping everything PG. I've got some cracking stories I'll never share that will go to my grave. But I think everybody remembers what she could do on court. I think what you have to remember is what a special person she is off court. It was the reason she got to captain her country 28 times. It was the reason she was so influential at Bath. It's the reason she's loved so much across the world. Rooming with Serena was always an experience. And I do remember coming back from a meeting with a coach and walking into my room, and I opened the hotel door, and literally she is there, starkers in the bath, going, do you want to join me, T? And that was Serena all over. She was very sharing and caring and just incredible. She never stopped having fun. She was this bundle of energy and joy, and everybody wanted to be around her. She was just hilarious. That, and wrapping her up in cling film and sending her down to Norma Plummer on one of the hotel lift lobbies was probably the best stories out there.
Yeah, that story I've heard before. Casey Jacks wants to get in on it, and that's kind of the joy of it, really. She has and will continue to inspire the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, what a legacy. She was special. She's special, and that's why I think everybody's been sort of taken aback by this. This is not just about the magical moments we remember her doing. My last game playing was 2015 at the World Cup against Jamaica, where we won a bronze medal. Serena was instrumental in winning us that game with the turnovers we got and the power and the pump. And I knew when we stepped away, the next group, Guthrie's, Hartons, Housby's, what they were going to do for this country. And they've done it. They've done everything on court that we dreamed of. They brought home a gold medal. It was incredible. And they've promoted our sport in a way that I didn't think was possible. And they also gave us credibility around the world. Serena Guthrie is known in Australia, is known in New Zealand. She's played there. She's won there. She's been just an amazing ambassador for a sport, and what a legacy to leave.
Talking of legacies to leave, sadly, Casey Jacks wasn't in the bit we recorded earlier, so he's about to leave stage left, or maybe right. As we go on to talk about round 6, we will return to the subject of Serena. You can use the hashtag off the court. Let us know your Serena stories. If anyone else was actually on that lobby floor when Serena was wheeled out, or she was rolled out the lift in cling film, that I would like to see photographic evidence of, but I doubt that exists. A couple of moments stand out for me. I think definitely Serena in that huddle at the Commonwealth Games, which we definitely can't ever broadcast again, but did make it out live at the time, was a moment. But you're right, she just popped up in life and on the court when you least expected it. And those moments will forever be marked in Super League and England history. Yes, Mummy, you're right. That's what she's going to go on to be as well. We wish her every success of being a wonderful mother too. Perfect timing, Casey Jacks, and perfect timing from Serena too. Right, a couple of things to discuss then over the weekend that's been and gone. We'll talk about Leeds Rhinos finally getting to play in front of that incredible crowd, some 2 years and 21 games into their Super League history. And also I want to celebrate Seven Stars. They're looking to be under new ownership next season after the University of Gloucester pulled out. I got to go and see them last Monday and it was huge smiles all round. More on that and the Tambourine Woman to come, but here are some of the results from the weekend. There were wins then for Thunder, for Pulse, Sirens, Lightning and Leeds. Those are the results from round 6. Let's step onto the court with our guest and tear it all up and find out what those results mean. This is Off the Court, and we've only gone and got a third wheel, the live to our neutral and earth, if you were wiring a plug. Good job we're not, because she is electricity. That's almost as bad as the introduction I did for Lisa Alexander last week. But she is Mavericks Supremo, Sasha Corbin. Sasha, thank you for coming on the show.
Yay!
You didn't have much choice, did you? We forced you. And we forced you because Tamsin was like, if there's someone I want to analyse this season, it's Sasha. Before we get into why Tamsin thinks you're having a brilliant season, does it feel different for you?
It does. I feel very free. I'm enjoying my netball. I feel like I'm getting opportunities and I'm loving the team environment that I'm in. Yeah.
What does that freedom feel like? How does it feel different? And what can you put it down to?
I think maybe like just less pressure and just knowing that, you know, I'm a bit older. I feel like I understand the game so much better. So now I'm just trying to kind of take everything that I've learned and just do it and not be fearful of anything. Just kind of go with the flow, read the play and just enjoy every moment that I'm out there.
Older, wiser. I wish I was referring to Tamsin then. But Tamsin, age, experience counts for everything, right? Tell me why you think Sasha is... Go on, embarrass her. What's changed this season?
Well, you were my pick this week, Sasha. I wanted you on the show to talk about because I think you are playing exceptionally well at the moment. And that freedom you talk about, I kind of understand that fight. You kind of go through a bit of your career where you're fighting to play for England, you're fighting to prove everything. And then you just get to a stage where that openness that you're playing with, that smarts that you're playing with just all comes together. And the clips I've picked out here we're gonna look at is almost like the perfect wing attack game. So this was Mavericks versus Stars round 4. You were 62-52, 18-10 in the first quarter. We're going to watch you here. Just look at this sideline, not shying away from the ball, not just taking yourself out, but the control that you're bringing down the court is exceptional. And just, I said this last week, wing attacks coming up this court, look how much space they have to drive through and you make that look effortless. This is perfect. Holding onto the ball, not releasing it straight away and feeding nicely into your sister under the post was exceptional. The next clip is the centre pass control. You get pinged here, you get the penalty, but this is really important when you talk about that freedom and understanding the game. Talking to Beth Akudale, who I think is playing exceptionally well as well, ordering her around, almost saying, you know, this is what we're going to do. Look at this, hanging back off the circle edge, knowing where you want to be, not just wanging the ball around purposely, but working really well with your other mid-quarter, bodying up, and opening out that space for Beth then to add in that feed. And I think you're bringing out the best of the players around you, which is the job of a wing attack. This is not just about everything you do. And finally, the through court ball we're going to see in the minute. And this is where I've spent most of my career trying to stop Sasha Corbin going in the pocket because she's so lethal there. Most teams will try and keep her up. She's out of shot at the minute. You're going to see this long ball straight down here. And again, look at that pinpoint feed. So that just kind of sums up where you are at the moment and just how well you're playing. But picking out those clips and just seeing that sort of freedom we're talking about, how much are Mavericks allowing you to lead that attack end now?
Yeah, I think I'm getting a lot of, well, to be fair, all of us are talking a lot. And I think the dialogue within the team has been really good. We're really telling each other what we want, how we want things to be done, and where we feel like we need to be in control and not just, you know, throw a ball off the sideline or whatever. So I feel like I am leading. I feel like I'm, you know, on the centre passes. I'm talking a lot to my goal attacks, no matter who it is. And I just, yeah, it just feels connected.
It's not just Tamsin that's paying you compliments. Have a little listen to our guest Last week, Lisa Alexander.
And, you know, I've been impressed with the Corbins. I think they've been doing some really nice stuff too. They've been disciplined, much more disciplined than I've seen them in the past, and just getting the job done for their team and being relentless, actually, in both attack and defence. So you know, they've done a really good job.
That discipline thing, I don't know whether I've heard it a few times, and I don't know how you feel about it, because in my mind, a lot's made about the flair, the skill, the ability of you getting the crowd on their feet, right? And I love that. Being a Maverick is all about that. When people talk about discipline, do you see that? Do you see what Lisa's saying there?
I feel like it's just something that's always kind of come with Mavericks in a way. Like, I guess there's been kind of a lot of speed in the past, a lot of, you know, kind of just giving what you see, and sometimes it's not on, and that disconnect it can look very messy if it's not connecting. So I think now, because of how long as well we've been playing with each other, I feel like we kind of almost know where people want the ball, like so much more. And so now there's that trust that if you was going to pass it, that the person will get on the end of it. But yeah, that's definitely reading the play, not forcing anything, just being like, okay, that's really tight. I'm not going to go there. There's another route to go here. And I think that's been really huge in kind of our efforts moving forward to try and be more clinical. Yeah.
I'm going to level with you. Myself and a certain other wing attack that did all right, Tamsin Greenway, were having a chat, weren't we, about England, Tamsin? And what conclusion did we come to?
Well, I threw it out there as someone who's made many comebacks, whether that was still on the table for you. I know the decision was made by yourself, and I also know how much it takes out of you being involved in that program. I think people forget that when you've been involved in such a young age. But I guess my question is it still an option for you? Is it something you consider? And if not, who are you most impressed with in wing attack at the moment? We know we've got that Nat Metcalf there. She is the queen of wing attack at the moment, but there's this whole like throw the bibs up, who's the next one?
Yeah, so okay, obviously England has always been kind of something I was always going hard for, so that is it would be like I guess an icing on a cake if it was to happen, but my sole kind of purpose right now is to try and make top four with Saracens Mavericks. We have not been there for so long. It's so frustrating to be a part of a team that has so much potential and just can't get over the line. And for me, it's always kind of the second half of the season where that starts to show. So I feel like for me, that's like my sole focus at the moment. And yeah, that's kind of where it's at. But I would never close the door on that. So, and then yeah, Natalie for me still, yeah, she shines for me there. And SDL, actually, I quite enjoyed watching her in the quad series. I thought I was impressed because I just wasn't sure what I was going to see. I know she's a very good goal attack and she does run the circle really well, and she doesn't run it like anyone else in England. So for me, when she played wing attack, I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I can see, you know, she has a bit, she's very controlled there. She's got the speed, which is what we sometimes need. And obviously Nat's very speedy and can let the ball go. So for me, she impressed me there.
So we're saying if it happens, brilliant. Jess, shout out, she wants to. Well, I'm just going to read into it like that. And Tamsin, the question why we're asking that is because we say, you know, what happens to Nat? There's been talk about Chelsea Pittman coming back into the fray as well. But in your mind, Tamsin, what does Sasha have? Why does she have the edge?
Well, look, the reality is you want players that are playing consistently well. And the big C, as I talk about with Mavericks, has probably been my major criticism over the last couple of seasons. There are a few eyebrows raised this year when you kept that group together, because it was like, can you realistically push on? Well, you've shown you can. I think you will be in top four. There's no doubt in my mind that group will make there. And you're a massive part of that. And I think an international door shouldn't ever be closed. It's really important. You know, players go through all kinds of things through their career. We're talking, 10 to 15 years sometimes at the top of their game. So, when someone is competing against the best players in the country week in, week out and putting on solid performances, then they should be able to put their hand back up. And it's really pleasing to hear you talk openly and honestly about that as well, because, you know, we've both been there. Playing for your country is something special. And I believe sometimes the best years of your career come towards the end of it. And I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. How difficult is it in your mind, Sasha? I know you're saying you're focused on Mavericks, but how difficult is it to think that might not happen? How that England might not happen in the future? How do you keep hold of that?
Do you know, I don't even think about it like that, if I'm being honest. I've had a fantastic time when I was playing for England. Like, you know, I enjoyed every moment. The people that we were training with, playing with, obviously everyone was always going for Commonwealth Games and World Cup, and it was always a hard, intense environment, but there was a lot that I learned from it, and I loved it. But like, I guess now what I think about is because I'm within the Mavericks setup right now, and I've been playing at this level. This is my 17th season overall playing netball, but my 16th season in the Super League and my 11th season with Mavericks. Like, that's so like cool, like to think, you know, I've been playing for this long. All I want to do right now is have fun and enjoy. So I feel like I'm there, and I don't want to have no extra pressure. I just want to play well for my club, and whatever happens. But that's where my heart is.
All right, I'll heap some more pressure on you then, because let's have a look at the other contenders. Lightning in the round just gone. We're going to talk more about that a bit later and sort of what's changed with Lightning, but having played Thunder as well, in your mind, who do you look at and think, right, they're the ones we're going to have to pip to go on and win this league?
Oh, do you know what? This whole league is crazy right now in terms of the competitiveness. There's no team that you can let up on at all. But of course, your natural kind of top four teams that you would always go for would be like, you know, your Team Bath, your Loughborough Lightning, your Manchester Thunder. They're kind of like the ones that you kind of want to get one up on, of course, just to gain confidence and to be like, yeah, we're competing with these guys. Then, you know, we can kind of compete with anyone. But then, like, listen, Surrey Storm and the way they're playing at the moment, you know, Pulse, they're absolutely killing it at times, and like super score lines. And then Sirens, like, I mean, they're so clinical right now. And when they put the whole game together, they're winning games. So I'd honestly, as I said, the top three that I said earlier, but you just can't really count anyone out.
All right, we're going to get to our game of the week after you've gone. It's not Lightning against Mavericks, so don't worry. We'll be polite about that one. But before we let you go, a couple of last things. Did you and Tamsin, did you ever room together? Have you got any stories you'd like to share about one another?
I was saying, actually, I spent most of my rooming with Cads, who I have plenty of stories on, but she's not here to defend herself, so I'm not going to, but we had a lot of fun. I'm trying to think, Sash, did we ever room? We probably did.
I think we roomed like maybe once or twice, but I only feel like I remember, like, I guess you just like laughing at me in like the ice baths and how much I hate the ice baths, and just and any swimming, anything water related. And you just getting in and getting it done, and you're like, Sasha, you really like, you're just gonna put your toe in, and honestly, I can remember those. And also you can always tell that like Tamsin was gonna be like a super coach, because she was just always on it when it came to like tactics and just like understanding the game. I got a lot of information and like growth from playing with Tamsin.
Basically, she's being kind.
Yeah,
she's being kind, because I used to bore her to death with
no, I'm just telling the truth, Tamsin. I think the destined was there. Like, I'm just telling the truth. It was great to be in your presence.
Hey, Sasha, it's been lovely talking to you. Here's hoping, you know, whether the pressure's there or not. I hope the pressure's not there, but here's hoping however you want this season to turn out does turn out for you and the future as well. We've loved watching every one of your years in the Super League, and here's to many, many more. Thank you for coming on Off the Court.
Thank you so much.
This is Off the Court with me, Caroline Barker, and her Tamsin Greenway. Thanks to Sasha Corbin for being part of it this week too. If there's someone you want to see, someone you want Tamsin to analyse, can be an ex-boyfriend. No, perhaps don't do that. Use the hashtag Off the Court and we will analyse the life out of it. Right then, Tamsin Greenway, let's get to all the meaty bits of the week. Time for your game of the week first. You could have gone for any of them, really. Rhinos, Wasps, Sirens, Storm. Who have you gone for?
Well, I've gone for Thunder Bath because it was cracking. I actually wasn't sure how this game was going to play out. Bath leading for most of the way, 3-up going into the last quarter, but Thunder with a huge fourth, winning that 18-11. Thunder not starting with their strongest lineup. Starting with O'Hanlon on the bench. Can I say that? It wasn't their strongest lineup. Mawene back in her second game for Bath. Her partnership growing with Gusgoth. And of course, still no Serena Guthrie. I think everyone thought Thunder were going to win this quite comfortably, but Bath had different ideas. We're going to pick this up in the first quarter, and that Bath defensive unit, so impressive. The way that Layla Gusgoth and Mawene are learning very quickly together, and the work rate out of the front from the Bath defenders. Mvula here, who was actually taken off after 37 minutes, she only scored 18 goals. So you can see the work she was doing. But watch this intercept from Layla Gusgoth and the switch Mawene did with her on both Cardwell and Mvula in there. It was incredible. And this is how Bath started, with kind of intent, playing that ball around. But this is where Bath come into some issues. And you're going to look at this attacking end. I find like Bath either play at world best, or they do things like this. This ball never on from Sophie Drakeford-Lewis. It was set up a mile off, and yet she still tried to throw it. And to be honest, it's balls like that and passages of play like that where Bath are trying to let ball go forward that gets them into trouble, not being able to pull away. However, this is when Bath are more clinical and controlled. Imogen Allison starting in the middle, and she was impressive, and I think she's really owning that centre bib. So much more space in here. She actually ended up having 15 feeds before she came off, and look at that beautiful feed into the back space of Sophie Drakeford-Lewis. She's fearless in letting the ball go, and that was a big part of Bath keeping that control and sticking with Thunder for majority of the game. But changes came.
We know that
Cardwell.
I was just going to interrupt you and say, if she were here, it's exactly what Guthrie would do. You know, she'd come through with the flying intercept. Is it as simple as to say that Bath, she is a world-class player, right? So any team would miss her. So does that make what Imogen Allison is doing so much more impressive?
Yeah, it does. Bearing in mind she's playing in a second choice position, we haven't seen her there a lot. To have that kind of leadership in the middle, and you know, she's not a natural feeder as such. She's more known for her defensive positioning, how much ball she intercepts, the hassle she creates, and yet she is really leading that team. I'm just surprised they keep changing it around. This is a Bath side that again dragged Imogen off the court, even though she was their highest feeder. And I know there was a period of the game where there was a couple of balls went amiss and there was lots of deflections by Thunder, but you kind of like give the kid information and let her trial out. Bath went through 2 centres, 2 wing attacks and 2 goal shooters in that game. And you just kind of think at some point, are you going to stick with it? Because I personally think that played into Thunder's hands.
Let's hear and talk about Manchester Thunder then, because many, you're right, went into it thinking this would be far more sizable than it was.
Yeah, well, it shows the fight, doesn't it, from Thunder? They never gave up. Didn't start with O'Hanlon, ended up moving Mvula off on the court and put in Cardwell and Nat Metcalf. And you can pick this up in the fourth quarter. This was one of Bath's 5 errors in a row. A long feed, never on into Betsy Creek. This is before Borgia re-entered the game. This is Thunder on the attack. Bearing in mind they've been down for most of the game. Look at the control from Laura Malcolm, offloading it up there to Lois Pearson, who was outstanding in this last quarter. But it's the change of timing from O'Hanlon, who was ruthless when she came on. Look, not passing that first ball, mixing it up. And look at this triangle they play. Metcalf to O'Hanlon and bump straight into Cardwell under the post. They are so clinical in crucial moments, in big pressure moments, which is why they are scoring so many goals. And you can see their Bath not really having any answers defensively when they were throwing this much ball away. And those 5 errors in a row were so costly for Team Bath at this point. And it gave Thunder that run, and it gave them the opportunity to just really break out this lead. Laura Malcolm, let's talk about her. Watch her positioning here on the defensive centre pass and the hassle. If anybody wants to talk about her best position, it's here at wing defence. Look, penalty happens at the circle. Laura Malcolm is not finished at all. Just watch again her positioning to shut down Rachel Shaw and how she gets across for this intercept of Sophie Drakeford-Lewis. I mean, that whole passage of play from Malcolm was textbook wing defence. It was absolutely exceptional. And then you've got this final passage, this centre pass from Thunder, the control from both Malcolm and O'Hanlon. You're going to see Lois Pearson come into shot, who, you know, young kid, pressure situation, coming on when their team's losing. Look at that composure to go back to the line, opening up, not doing anything particularly fancy, but just hanging off, waiting to be used. And look at the touch on this feed that she does to Cardwell. She just has a look and places it in against 2 world-class defenders. Thunder were in trouble for a majority of this game, but came through it totally unscathed again with the classy changes and, you know, put that 57-53 win on the board, which keeps them undefeated.
Laura Malcolm, who you mentioned, was player of the match. Thunder finished the game 57 from 60. Bath went 53-58. And there was those 10 straight goals for Cardwell just after the third quarter when Bath didn't score as well. So it's those sorts of areas that you can see it was breaking down. But Bath, I've just been impressed that they've still got the legs within them too. They've had to reorganise things, as many of these teams have had to do already this season. They're missing that key quality player, but what they're achieving too, it's just that 4th place, as Sasha was saying, that 4th place is going to be so interesting come the end of the season. We mentioned different things that have changed, what Anna Stenbridge has done, but my coaching move of the week goes to Sam Bird. I don't know if you saw this. Netball Scoop wrote, "I will be adopting Bird Beers," that's Sam Bird's tagline on Twitter, line of "turn the screw at my match tomorrow. It's spicy." Is that you, Tamsin? Not you saying that, but when you see your team going ahead, how key is it just to say, right, this is the point, you need to press home that advantage?
Well, it's really easy to say. To get a team to actually do it is another matter. You know, how many times you hear it's so a team prefers to be the team behind, chasing down a lead. How many times you see a team go 5 or 6 up, look fully in control, and then throw that away in seconds? And I think this ruthlessness is needed by any of the top teams. And that's what you saw from Thunder. That's what you've seen from teams like Loughborough. And that's now what Pulse are starting to inherit as their culture. The more you talk about it, the more players understand when to do it. It's key. It helps when you have someone like Fumi Fidoju, again, player of the match in round 6, 5 intercepts, 5 deflections, I think 9 turnovers. I mean, Fumi is just being Fumi. But when you have a defensive lineup that are going to keep winning you ball, it gives attackers more opportunity to keep turning that screw, to put the foot down when you need to. And I think a lot of it comes from experience and confidence. And Pulse, you know, I love that from Sam Bird. It's something that all coaches need to be trying to get their squads to do.
You mentioned Lightning, 71-47. Has she gone? Yeah, Sasha's no longer here. We can talk about that. That's going to be your surprise of the week, isn't it? Just actually how dominant Lightning were.
Yeah, I mean, what a score. I think they forced Mavericks into 37 errors. They dominated the first quarter 19-7. And to be honest, it's kind of game over at that point, isn't it? Watching that game, the switches of Fran Williams and Alice Harvey were impressive. In that first quarter alone, they turned over 9 balls in the circle. 9 balls. It was faultless watching. Wow. And this is against Venter, Chloe Essam, obviously Sasha Corbin and Betha Dale. So I think it hit Mavericks quite hard. We've not really spoken about Loughborough, which is crazy, isn't it? I've been in that position when you're the team and no one's really talking about you. And yet you're just ticking along. Look, this is a team that have not scored below 60. They've now proven themselves against the top side Mavericks. They haven't even really got a standout. Like Mary Chollock is sitting 3rd in the shooting stats and Hannah Joseph, I think, is 5th in the feeds, but they haven't got those big star players. But when you look across the line, they're evening out. And this game we're going to look at is actually taken from when they played Sirens in round 5. They won 61-48.
13 deflections, and it was shared equally in that whole defensive line. That shows you what a unit it is. Now, the pressure on this third line is insane. Look at how they're keeping the Sirens players up through the court and making them have to play this ball around. It's constant arms over. They're forcing shooters in positions they don't want to shoot the ball, and it never stops. You know, that is annoying from Nat Panagari, but it's full on. They never give up on those kind of balls, and it puts doubt in feeders' minds. It allows attackers not sure what to do. You see Vimbella coming through onto that ball, the big range from Fran Williams, and then the intercept on this. What I've been most impressed about is then the composure to take this through the court. This is quarter 4. They'll all be tired at this point. You know, there's still lots to play for. Look at that, playing it back to Vimbella, waiting for it to open up. Watch this from Beth Cobden, just bodying up, not doing anything crazy, turning, looking down the court. Nat Panagari coming back to reoffer. You know, they have a 6'5" shooter down the other end they could lob it to, and yet they're all quite comfortable on the ball. Williams, Cobden want to get on it. They're not shying away from it, and they will work this when 45 minutes of the game has gone already, finally with the long ball. And even just this touch here into the circle, it isn't just lob and hope. There's real kind of composure with doing it, and this is why they're being so lethal, because they're winning ball off you, but they're also keeping it in the attack end. You're going to see this in the attacking end third. Just watch the touch and subtlety from Joseph, not looking to lob it over to Chollet, but using Susie Liversidge. Watch her roll out here, just pulls the space, and then the quick ball goes into Mary Chollet. They're messing with defences. Most defence think you're just going to lob that ball up. Nuh-uh. They're going to use Ella Clark. They're going to use Susie. And this defensive centre pass, most teams have to go backwards on this because of the pressure. And watch this intercept you're going to see in a moment. They're going to have to play this ball back because there's literally nowhere to go. And this is quality from Fran Williams. Keep in your shot there. And she just takes that off Niamh McCall. That is because it's constant. It's consistent. Everybody is doing their job. And teams that come up against Loughborough are going to feel it after the 60 minutes.
The reason for us showing that Sirens game is that we are seeing that consistency from them, aren't we? I know it must be, if we do word bingo on off the court, probably consistency is going to be up there at the top of all the words that we use. But that's going to be the difference come the end of the season. Those partnerships that they've managed to maintain. Yes, Sarah, Frances Bayman leaving, going temporarily, and just seeing the level of coaching come through. They know what they're doing. They know the ethos of the club, which is so important. And I guess really difficult as a coach to instill. This is what I want at all age ranges. This is what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and that culture has grown year on year, and you sometimes have to have the disappointment. You know, this is a team that made 2 grand finals in a row, that lost both of them, that then said, right, we're going to stick this out. We want to win one. They had Sarah Frances Bayman come in. They made the top 4, didn't get through to finals, and then they've just gone on this run. And that unit has grown. I think what you're saying about how they bring the youth through is so important. Everybody knowing their job. They lost a lot of their bench players from last year because, you know, players are going, well, hang on, am I going to get on the court over the championship winning team? Well, they've gone off, they go off to other teams, and they've just refilled them with new youngsters that are stepping up and taking on the challenge. And that is impressive. They're building a culture. And you know what? Sometimes it's quite nice to go under the radar. You know, let's talk about all the flair that Thunder are bringing. Let's talk about the consistency that Mavericks are bringing. Oh, let's talk about the drama at Bath. Oh, Loughborough are just doing their job. I can't wait to see them at the end of the month because I think they've got Thunder and Bath coming up, which will be huge for them. But I think teams are going to struggle to stop them at the moment.
So what you're saying is no one wants the look at me, look at me, look at me. No one wants to look at me. The reason I've kind of set you up probably in this, and you've fallen neatly into the trap. I was with Danny Titmus Morris watching her Celtic Dragons side get their first win. She was with you at Wasps, was the under-21 coach. You can see the impression of that Wasps under-21 team across the league now, playing starters in the sevens across the Super League. And that's what structure, I guess, does. But the flip side of that is they're not in this Wasps team. And if we go for Surprise of the Week, good with Loughborough Lightning. Surprise of the Week, something maybe needs improving. I give you Wasps, right?
Well, look, yeah. So Wasps, it was an interesting one because when we set it up in as a Birmingham franchise and based in Coventry, but in that sort of West Midlands, you hadn't had a young franchise in there for such a long time because you hadn't had a team in the West Mids, and yet so many players in the past have come from that area. So it was always going to be a bit of a building ground. And you talk about that Wasps under-21 group. There were a lot of players, but they were imported in from other areas. And what's tended to happen as they finish uni, they've gone home as people like Danny leave and you don't get that pathway through. You go back to your other teams, which is what you're seeing. So Wasps were kind of in that interesting rebuild again, that actually their new youth coming through are going to be very strong and they've finally got that building again. But it hasn't necessarily transferred into their senior squad. And they were very honest about where they were going to be this year. You know, Mel Mansfield didn't get some of the huge signings that perhaps were sort of rumour mill going around at the time, and she's picked up some players that were bench players in other groups or squad players in other groups, and so she's had to work that in with her superstars, players like Rachel Dunn. I think this match was quite interesting because Wasp will look at it and analyse every single error that went wrong, and Rhinos will look at it and go, oh, thank God we won that. And there was a 1-goal difference. It was a 44-43. It was scrappy. I'm not going to lie, it was scrappy. I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed shouting at my telly in the last few minutes. But if you want to pick this up, I think the biggest problem for Wasps here were when they were getting their defensive turnovers, they weren't necessarily converting it. And you're going to watch the defense pressure much better on this third line in terms of dictating where Rhinos could go. And much better pressure coming through with arms over, keeping them off the circle edge, something we hadn't seen against Wasps versus Thunder. And you're going to watch this intercept in a minute, or the ball out of court. And Wasps get a turnover. Brilliant. Josie Huckle's clapping. They're in control. But it's moments like this that were a problem for Wasps. They made 9 through-court errors. So 9 errors between their wing defence and goal defence. You just can't get away with that. And you're going to watch Wasps here. There is no reason for them to be lobbing the kind of cheap ball they are away. They are trying to play more composed, and you're seeing it in moment. Another Rhinos attack. You can see the same through-court pressure from Wasps, keeping them off that edge. Bree Grierson finally making it up there. And you're going to watch, this time it's Sienna Rushton, who was playing in at goal attack. No Rhea Dixon, choosing to offload it. And look at that amazing intercept there from Nichols on the edge. Get the ball, but Leah Goss, just a cheap one. Just stand, hold, deliver. And I think that will be the frustration for the coach going along Mel Mansfield, because they're getting very close to taking a scalp, to taking a team, but they're just not quite there yet.
And it just gives the hope, as we've seen for Celtic Dragons in their little tussles too, for those teams down the bottom of the table, believe that they can get results against those in and around them, and how that works. I love that Danny Titmus-Morris mentioned it quite a few times, actually, has worked out that you probably need about 6 wins to be in that top 8. I also love what Fast 5 has done for the Super League in making teams want to be in that top 8, to make the Fast 5 competition too, and just something, an added extra on it. We will go in depth on Leeds Rhinos sometime in the future as well, but a quick mention of the fact that a bit of history was made with Leeds playing at home in front of a Leeds crowd, and they packed it out, and it was a brilliant, brilliant atmosphere too. And I must mention as well, I got a tambourine. Thank you to Stars. Although I also have to mention, it completely freaked me out. I was driving home at about 10 o'clock at night from Worcester. I could see blue lights in my rear windscreen and thought the police are there. They're coming to get me. I looked in my wind mirrors, left, right. Where are the police? I looked ahead of me. Are the police in front of me? Shall I pull over? I put my indicator on, pulled over. Then I realised I'd set off the flashing lights of the tambourine. No police after me, maybe just the bad taste police for my singing on the way round. Let's have a little look as the flashing lights continue to go off in the background, ahead to what's coming up this coming weekend. We've got Stars Rhinos, Wasps Dragons, Pulse Storm, Mavericks Sirens, Thunder Rhinos. I want to just briefly talk about Lightning Wasps. This is the first Lightning Pride round. Nat Panagari on social media saying, I'm really proud Lightning are hosting their first Pride game, an opportunity to keep championing, she says, increased visibility, something I'm really passionate about. She goes on to say, I think that will be a really special moment for the league and for Lightning as well. Then Monday, we've got Bath Lightning and Pulse Sirens. One of those games you want to pick out then, Tamsin Greenway?
Oh, Bath Lightning's going to be good, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, you're not going to call it though, are you? Which way it'll go? Yeah, it will be good, but I don't know. I'll just plead tambourine ignorance. A few other words. I loved Dan Busfield in terms of social this week at Leeds. He was dropping off netball tickets for the new Leeds United football boss. I love Kelly Walker. If you get the chance to follow her on social, she's giving us a view of every game. It's wine, it's beer, it's ticket prices. It's kind of all the key things you need to know, whether you can buy a light up tambourine on the door as well. But there is just one thing I want to finish with, and this is Pumza Mawani. We talk so much about the quality of players in the league, but she steps out on court, and this was within seconds of the start of their match.
But let's not
possibly
forget,
the quickest
it was Team Bath who ended
interception so
Manchester.
far. It was Kath Murray and co, Kath Murray and co even, that we're talking about this one, and just seeing her fly in and take it to well worth a look on social media at that. Mawani, netball is home, and she's very much part of it, and can't wait to watch her continue to flourish throughout the season. Right, that's it from us. We've heard Sasha's stories, Tamsin and tambourines. What more could you want? Until next time, get in touch. Use the hashtag off the court. It's bye from me. And you've got no tambourine.
Bye from
We'll
me.
leave it there.